Hey, you guys. All right, so we're going to talk today about the relentless cycles of growth. This morning I kept hearing the relentless, what was it? I wrote it down. The relentless unraveling of the rose. And this is so resonant for me right now. And I know that so many of you are feeling this as well. I know because I'm getting messages. I know because I'm getting texts. I know because there's confirmation all around that so many of us are experiencing this very confronting, turbulent energy. In this video, we're going to talk about a few different things. We're going to talk about the difference between awakening and ascension. We're going to talk about the feelings of incredible uncomfortability for the people who are really initiating the changes that are needed to move into the ways of operating of our new earth that we're going to be experiencing in the next 10, 20, 30 years and beyond. And we're also going to talk about the concept of the caterpillar and the butterfly, which I know many of you are aware of. But something interesting has been coming in for me around that from the Akashic records in my own practice. So that will probably come in. So right now we are in this portal of incredibly confronting energy. But the truth is we're going to have a lot of high energy for the rest of time, for the rest of our lives. And I've heard a lot of predictions that will say really, really for the next 30 years, this is going to be the experience. Increasing high vibrations of light, which we can experience as intensity because the body actually has so much to do to transform the density that we're holding into light. And that makes us confront ourselves. It makes us look at ourselves. But with certain planetary alignments, when certain, things just hit the right way, collectively we experience this at a different level, which I feel is happening right now. There's major geostorms that are actually hitting the news. There's solar storms, big planetary shifts in alignment, certain things that haven't happened for hundreds of years. And right now, specifically if you're watching this at the time of my filming, it's 2:22 on the time clock. We're about to go into the death rebirth cycle. We're, gearing up for retrograde season, and our bodies are releasing a lot. It's like, okay, we're moving into the next version of yourself. Here's all the things that you get to look at. Are you going to stick with the fear, or are you going to transmute these to love and move forward into your next version? Or do we need to go back a few pages in the chapter? Doesn't matter. Any of it is fine. Whatever you choose is fine, but you need to choose. And so that's what a lot of us are experiencing right now. And this can feel really relentless. This can feel really just intense. And I think some of us, I know I'm sort of feeling this way. It's like, how much? Why? Like, this just is so continuous. How much more can I take of this? Because those of us who are really, really committed to this path, we don't shy away from the confrontation. We don't shy away from looking at what's coming up. We're not numbing ourselves. We're not running away from it. We're like, I see you right here. Let me examine it from all angles. And how can I transmute this back to love? But as we do that over and over and over and over and over and over again, it's tiring. It's exhausting to the body. So we have to make sure that we're nourishing ourselves, that we're taking care of ourselves, all those, all the things. So I'm like, where do I want to go with this first? Let's talk about the difference between awakening and ascension, because I feel like this is important for someone to hear. So the awakening process usually happens way before your ascension process. I mean, it has to, otherwise, yeah. The awakening is external. This is when you start to realize, oh, the world as I've been shown it isn't necessarily true. This could be as simple as seeing like, oh, the way that my parents depicted the world isn't actually ultimate truth. Or I've been wearing these goggles that are orange tinted, and that's actually, when I take them off, that's actually not what the real world looks like. It can also look a lot like seeing, the corruption in a lot of the big companies and our governments, and seeing that sort of thing highlighted, and then really taking responsibility for what you're consuming, what you're watching. All of it is external of us. The last thing that I've experienced with this, with the awakening, is like, you will start to see that you are creating your life, and you'll start to change your external reality around you. This was the major part of it for me. leaving the corporate world, deciding I wasn't going to live in that sort of experience, that's not what I wanted, that I really found freedom in choosing how I spend my time. And so I created that for myself. The ascension process is different, far more intense. You need the awakening first. You need the awakening first. Some people, the awakening will be a lot shorter than it was for me. For like me, it was maybe 4 or 5 years. And then I went into my like deep ascension. But for some people, it might be 20 years. For some people, it might be 2. It's going to be different for everybody. And it doesn't matter how long it is. The ascension process is internal. So you may dabble with some of the internal things in the awakening. Like I for sure thought it was all internal. It wasn't. Like I was looking at limiting beliefs and things like that. But when you're in the ascension process, it's like there is light coming into your body that literally dissolves the darkness. And it's like brings it straight up in front of you. And you have to look at it. Also, I do truly feel that when people who are in the ascension process have made this choice either on a soul level or your higher self has like co-created with you, like you're willing to do this work. Because honestly, I don't think that a lot of people could survive. And that sounds really dramatic, but I think that some people literally wouldn't be able to face themselves in many ways, and they wouldn't be able to do it. They would never choose that. So what am I trying to say? Our ascension process is internal, and it requires that we look at all the parts of ourselves where we're not showing up from love. And a lot of times this will happen cyclically. Like there are certain things there are really sometimes big nuggets of fear in our bodies that you can't just dissolve with 1 round of healing. Like it might need 100 rounds. And you'll just experience wild cycles with this. And the depth of it is very intense, very, very, very intense. And because it's internal, a lot of times, once you've reached this space of your ascension process, you're so open that you're experiencing things on such a more visceral level that it's like, holy fuck, this is so intense. How do I even like operate a normal life and experience this feeling? Because I'm feeling it at such a great depth. And if you think about even 10 years ago, you were not probably feeling things at the depth that you are right now, especially when you're in deep confrontation around parts of your being. And it's easy for us to look at the outside world and blame people or blame situations or things or jobs or bosses or whatever it might be for what you're feeling. But it's like everything is a reflection of you. Everything is a mirror. What is it here to show you? What are you here to learn? So anyways, what I wanted to remind you of, if you're just like, oh my God, this feels relentless. This feels like the cycle is never ending. I'm this caterpillar that it just keeps going back to this dissolving. I'm this caterpillar that is just staying liquefied. Like I might harden up for a little bit and then it's back to liquefaction. That's how I feel. And it's like, right, because we are an important sector. Everybody is playing their role in this shift into the age of Aquarius, into this new age of light. And if you think about it this way, here is where we're at right now, 2022. Extreme overstimulation. People aren't able to sit with themselves, be present. There's so much manipulation and corruption going on externally that is programming people, and some are aware of it, some are not. But regardless, everything is so fast paced. Everything, like we're harming the earth for convenience. We're not appreciative of what life actually is because we've bought into this system, we've bought into this matrix that has fed us this false storyline of what life actually is. Welcome to 2022. Okay. Over here, I don't know what year this would be, but I believe we're moving into a space where we're slowing down dramatically, where life is going to appear extraordinarily different. It might even appear like we're going backwards in many ways, going back to the land, living in communities, not chasing after money at the expense of our life, our time, our relationships. All of these things are going to be changing. But how do we get from here to here? there has to be people who start to change their ways of being, right? So there's already been, you could say like people in the 70s and 80s who are pioneering some of these things. They've started a little bit of this shift. Then you could say the shift of entrepreneurship in some ways has done a lot of damage, and in some ways has, changed our perspective of what life should look like, what life has to look like. It's broken a lot of those like paradigms. So anyways, where are the leaders that are going to guide us? There have to be large groups of people that change their ways of operating and living to get us into this place. And so I believe if you're still watching this 10 minutes in, that you're one of these leaders, as I am, who is guiding us into a new way of experiencing life. What does that look like? That means that around us, we're going to be like, dude, nobody is operating the same way as me. You might feel extreme loneliness, or like nobody understands you, or like, why am I experiencing things so intensely? Why am I feeling things, and why am I so sensitive? Why do I feel everybody's energy? Why am I seeing all of these things? Because we are the people who are, it's 11:11, you can't make it up. We are the people who are guiding into this new age. We have to guide through showing up and living our life in a particular way, even when it is not popular, even when people do not get it. I made a post about this a few weeks ago. I'm like, sometimes I look at how I spend my day and I'm like, this isn't okay. This isn't allowed. And like the slowness that I experience my life as, for the majority of the time, I experience a lot of peace and tranquility and like sanctuary. But when we're in these intense times, it's not necessarily that. But sometimes I look around and I'm like, how I live my life is so drastically different than most people. Is that okay? Am I doing it all wrong? Am I completely wrong in thinking that, like, I go through these phases sometimes and then I'm like, oh yeah, no, I'm a leader of the new age. Like I'm starting to help shift others into experiencing more slowness in their life so that they can come back to themselves. Because when we're so busy, when we're doing shit all the time, you have no presence to face what's actually going on within. You already know that if you're watching this. So anyways, just a reminder, if you're like, I am so incredibly uncomfortable and nobody around me gets it, and I feel alone, and I feel like, I have my small group of people online or around me that understand this, but the rest of people, like, I'm operating so differently, or I just feel so confronted all the time in this growth process, and it just feels relentless, and I'm tired of being in the liquefaction. Trust that you're doing your part. Trust that this is something I tell myself. Trust that you are doing everything right. Trust that your higher self is guiding you. Trust that you are not going to be led astray, that the universe has your back always. I have so much ear ringing right now. The universe has your back always, and that you are doing this to help create a shift in the atmosphere, to create a rift in the vibrational, I'm hearing like a particular phrase, a rift in the vibrational field that is directing people like 1 degree to the right. And if you go 1 degree to the right over time, that you're going in a very different direction. So just trust. We don't see the physical evidence quite yet, but we will in time. So anyways, I hope that this supports you in some way today. If it does, please share it, or please comment below and let me know, your experience, what you're feeling, what you're moving through right now. And yeah, I'm sending you so much love, and I hope that you have a beautiful rest of your day.